Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Grove. My name is Bernard Alvarez, and I am so glad you are here uh, to come together and enjoy, hopefully, some metaphysical as well as some discussion on our consciousness and what we can do to improve our consciousness to live a better life. This particular episode, I'm going to be discussing, well, it's called Thy Will Be Done, aligning with our source consciousness. And that has a lot of undertones, that have a lot of misunderstanding. I know I myself misunderstood a lot of it in my early years, but I just want to say a lot of what we think is usually isn't, and that is one of the keys to aligning with source consciousness. And we are going to get into that discussion in just a few moments. But as usual, I like to take a few moments at the beginning of each broadcast for us to kind of ground ourselves a little bit. And I like to call the goddess to come join us and help us to gain the clarity and discernment needed as we tackle these topics. So, if you would like to join me for the invocation, you are welcome to. If not, just kick back and relax as we call and invoke the Great Mother. O great goddess, Lady of the night and the silvery moon, she whom is the darkness and the light that shines through it. Hail to thee, great Lady of the moon, and hear us, your children, as we ask of your divine presence here within our sacred circle of light, where we have come to partake of the great beauty, strength, and wisdom that lies within each and every one of us. Blessed be. And today's reading from the Book of One, I thought was appropriate, is appropriate for what we're going to be discussing today. And I'm probably going to be talking a little bit about the Book of One as we start the discussion. But let me start with this reading. It's chapter 22 from the Book of One. Oh, it's called Serendipity. It is the way of one or not at all. For if you were to go against the tide of one, it would still be the way of one. For all comes from one, good or bad, beneficial or detrimental. It is all in the way of things, as all things go the way they were meant. So I'll give you a few moments to contemplate that if that's what you'd like to do. Um, And with that, let us do our grounding meditation. Let us open ourselves up to our own source consciousness. And join me for this 1 minute meditation. You can join me by taking a deep breath in and closing your eyes. And I'll see you in 1 minute. Welcome back. So, as I said, we are going to be, again, the name of the show today is Thy Will Be Done, aligning with our source consciousness. And I see a few of you have already jumped in the chat. So, let me say hello to Mandy on Facebook and Marianne on Facebook. Hello. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad to see your face again this week. And hello to Lubatka. I hope I said that correctly on YouTube. Thank you for being here and joining us. Um, so, unfortunately, last week I do suffer from migraines, unfortunately. And last week I had a great show planned, and I had a migraine headache, and I had to cancel the show at the last second. But even though I had a great show planned, um, for me, when I do these shows, it is about aligning with my higher self and aligning with source consciousness. So that show would have been great for that week. This week, this is what Spirit is calling me for to speak about. So let's start with that. The term, Thy Will Be Done. A lot of us know that term, especially those of you that might be involved in Judeo Christian religion. I first heard it during the Lord's Prayer when I was growing up. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, which is a great line, no matter what religion you belong to or you ascribe to and align with. But I always thought it was kind of strange to turn my will over to somebody else or something else. And as a matter of fact, growing up, I've had my share of going to a few 12-step programs. Of course, you all know I am a member of Al-Anon for Friends and Family of Alcoholics. And there is a step there where you turn your will over to the care of your higher power as you understood them. And I had a real issue with that growing up when I would participate in some of these 12-step programs. As a pagan, as a magician, we are trained to develop our will, or at least that's what I thought when I first got involved in the occult and esoteric studies and magical studies. I thought it was about developing the strength of my will and being able to, impose my will upon my reality and all the things that go along with it. And believe it or not, it wasn't until, of all people, when I started studying Aleister Crowley's work, that I discovered the idea of will being will of the universe, will of God, will of source, will of our higher self, fill in the blank, will of that higher being, whatever it may be. And how the studies that I was studying kind of taught me all these wonderful rituals and exercises and ceremonies and practices and whatnot in order so that I can become a channel for source consciousness. I didn't call it source consciousness back then, and to this day, I still kind of call it will of the universe. But it was to be a conduit of universal consciousness, a conduit and a channel for life force energy. And as my studies progressed and I moved onward to my studies in Reiki, becoming a Reiki master, it is inherent for us as healers to allow ourselves to be the channel of that so-called universal life force energy, chi energy, prana, whatever word that you want to call it. And slowly I began to, put two and two together. And for many years, I was able to, through these practices and through these exercises, the daily rituals and whatnot that were a part of my training back then, I was able to allow myself to be that conduit and be honest with what I was sensing and what I was feeling. When I went through my spiritual awakening back in 92, I was way too young. I actually, earlier the better, but I was way too emotionally immature, I guess is the way to say it, to have this understanding of the universe, and having the universe, having my guides literally shake me to a place where your purpose, telling me that, your purpose in this life is to teach others the way back to one, the way back to source, the way back to universal consciousness. And all of those things, all of those exercises, all those rituals, all these magical traditions that I learned were all leading up to this part of me, the part of me that is source consciousness, the part of me to share the understanding of that part of you that is source consciousness and has that universal wisdom, awareness, and connected to source. I won't go into too much as far as what is source, what is universal consciousness. Crowley used to call it uh, getting in conversation with our holy guardian angel. There's too much dogma involved with these labels, and that was the one thing that my guides taught me is the moment you put a label on it, you're no longer talking about true source consciousness. The moment you label it, your ego is going to get in the way. It's going to kind of skew it and, for lack of a better term, pervert its purity of what it really is, because it just is. Just as the reading that I read in the Book of One just now, it just is. Both good and bad, up and down, the opposites that is life, and all of our life experience all stem from this universal source consciousness. So as I developed my magical intuition, my magical practice, my magical knowledge and wisdom through the experience of these rituals and initiations and all that, I began to understand that when these texts, these grimoires, these lessons that were being passed down through Dion Fortune or Crowley or other wonderful magical teachers of the early 20th century, when they were talking about will, they were very clear that it was capital W will. Let thy will, capital W, be done. The will of universe. All of these exercises were for us to be a conduit to recognize the will of the universe. So I know I'm talking like way up here, way, as above, maybe not so much below, but I know I'm talking way up here in perhaps some abstract metaphysical concepts and whatnot. But let me bring it down to earth for our day-to-day life. For example, many of us have been through, including myself, have been through traumatic situations. And when we have had these type of experiences in our life, we are always looking for the danger. We're always looking for what can go wrong. We're always looking for, we're always alert and vigilant to be protective of ourselves. Of course, we've been hurt, we've been screwed over, whatever it may be. But in doing so, we are cutting ourselves off from our higher selves. In doing so, we don't have the ability to tap into that universal life force energy. And we impose our will into day-to-day, moment-by-moment situations. In those day-to-day, and I'll ask you, um, in those day-to-day, moment-by-moment situations, when we impose our will coming from past memories of traumatic situations, or past memories of being taken advantage of, whatever it is, when we impose our will on those situations, do they ever really turn out for the best of everyone involved? In my experience, I have found when I get in my way is when I create much more havoc, much more disruption, and much more unhappiness and sorrow, not only for myself, but usually for the people involved in that that experience, whatever that little experience might be, that little chapter that we're talking about here. And it is in doing that that I've come to realize that when we are aligned with source consciousness, when we are aligned with source consciousness, we are in a state of complete trust. We are in a state of complete trust of the universe. We are in a state of, I don't want to say faith, and I know faith might have something to do with it at the beginning, but a lot of people throw that word around a little bit too much for my liking. But I will say it's more of understanding through experience, that it's like, okay, well, this has worked positively in the past. I am going to continue to trust this process. Not going to throw my will, my small WILL, which usually stems from ego, which usually stems from past experiences, subconscious, hang-ups and obstacles that have been created to protect me from being hurt by other people or whatnot. But I'm going to trust the process. I'm just going to move out of the way, watch things play out the way that they're supposed to be. But it's not only just allowing trust of the universal process, it's also reaping the benefits of that connection, and that, how shall we say, that being a part of the process. In other words, for me, when I am in alignment with source consciousness, for me, let me just clarify, let me go a little bit deeper with that. For me, when I'm aligned with source consciousness, I'm aligned with my higher self. When I am aligned with my higher self, I am aligned with my guides. When I am aligned with my guides, they are aligned with source consciousness, feeding me the information, feeding my higher self the information, nudging me in the right direction. And somewhere deep inside, we've all experienced this. We know the right thing to do, but a lot of times we don't do it. It was back in, let's say, I don't know, when did The Secret come out? Like early 2000s or whatnot. Secret came out. I was introduced to Abraham Hicks, and for me, she demonstrates a great definition of what source consciousness is. Yeah, of course, I went on the whole bandwagon about law of attraction and all that kind of stuff, and that's wonderful. It is one of the universal principles, but it's not the only one. And through her, I did get some great analogies of what aligning with source consciousness is. So I do thank you for that, Abraham. You did a great job explaining it to me and many, many people around the world. But I found one of the most important, profound things that they said. I don't know how many of you have ever heard them talk about the stream. And it was kind of used as an analogy of what it's like to be in alignment with source consciousness, allowing thy will, the will of the universe, to be done. And I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit of what the analogy or the story that she told was. So she's like, imagine you get thrown into a stream, and it's a rapidly flowing stream, and you're freaking out. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to drown. And, you see these rocks ahead, and you're like, oh my God, and you start paddling upward. You're reaching down, trying to grab any like sea plants down there, try to hold you from being pulled into the tide of the stream, just resisting it and resisting it. And what happens? You get tired, you get exhausted. And instead, what we can do is just to let go and go with the flow. If the stream carries you up against a rock, you land up against a rock and then just go around it, but continue to follow the stream. That was a big aha moment for me when I heard that. God, I heard that back in 2006 or something. Boy, that's been a long time. But so it's not to say that when we are in alignment, again, I'm going to use my paradigm. When I'm in alignment with higher self, aligned with my guides, that aligns me with source, it doesn't mean that everything's going to be perfect all the time. It doesn't mean that I am going to avoid life's obstacles, those rocks in the stream. It just means I'm going to have an easier time of it. I remember, and this is a little bit of this is very personal that I'm sharing with you now. I remember when I had discovered that my best friend had been using drugs and alcohol again, and freaking out. I've talked about this in my life and when I went through, and I just remember freaking out. And as I was freaking out, it was almost as if my guides came to me and said, just let it happen. Everything is going to be okay for both of you. Just let it happen. Get out of the way. Let things happen. And I suddenly had this huge weight lifted of, okay, I don't need to control it. I am turning it over. The 12 steppy here. I am turning it over to my higher power to take care of it. I am trusting source. I am trusting the will of the universe. Again, that's not to say we're throwing our hands up in the air and running into dangerous situations. Or, I remember when I first, another funny analogy I'll share with you. When I was younger and I first got involved in magic, I remember being so connected and like, you know what, I am protected. I am so safe. My intuition is, so strong right now. And it was very strong. And I would test it. I would like walk out in traffic and like watch the cars. I will miss every car. I will find the path where the cars are not going to, I will not be in the path of any car. I mean, that was very dangerous and very stupid. I was, 18 years old or 19 years old, trying to show how connected I was to my intuition. So that's not to say to do stupid things like that when we are in alignment with our higher self, our intuition, and source consciousness. But it does apply in the sense of, it applies in the sense that when we are that connected, we really do have nothing to fear. We let go of fear. So let's talk a little bit about what the characteristics are when you are living thy will, capital W. Thy will is non judgmental. Thy will is not coming from fear. Thy will has complete understanding of the path before it. Thy will trusts the process. Thy will knows what's best for your personal journey and your personal growth. Thy will is centered, grounded, and at peace. Thy will is connected with the universe and all aspects of it. Now, how wonderful it would be to be like that 24 hours a day, right? How wonderful it would be. Um, and that is where all of these exercises come in that I try to share with you, I try to teach my students, or I try to teach my viewers, that I try to teach my students at grade school. It all leads to having that awareness that you are connected. If you do not have that awareness that you are connected, maybe extend that 5-minute meditation to a 10-minute meditation. If you do not feel that connection, maybe be aware of, and this is one of the reasons why I ascribe to pagan spirituality, is the celebrating the wheel of the year. It makes me feel connected to nature. the solstices, the equinoxes, the cross quarter days. We're aligning ourselves with the universal cycles. The awareness of the moon and the moon cycles, again, just being aware of it connects us with the cycles of our little part of the universe right here. So I'm hoping that, sharing this information, having this little bit of a discussion with you, just kind of maybe answers a few questions, maybe pulls away that ego obstacle of I'm not turning my will over to the universe. I've got things to do. You can still do those things, but just imagine how much better you will do those things when you are honest with yourself as to what your intuition's saying, as to what being connected to your higher self all the time is. And you can. I know I was for many, many, many years constantly connected to my higher self, constantly connected to my guides, and constantly connected to source consciousness. And it was almost as if I were just floating down this path and just accepting what universe was offering me and pushing me into sometimes. And it was during that era that I started doing this work online and got to meet all of you and work with all of you, and you know love what I do for a living, for lack of a better term. uh, to accept my calling, to accept what the universe and I have planned together and have agreed to work with in our lives and my life in this incarnation. So I ramble on again. It's a little bit too long, but let's look at some of the chat. I see a few of you have posted some things. So let me say hello to Sandra on YouTube. Nice to see you. Hello, Gabrielle. And you're very, very welcome. As I said, I don't think I have a choice but to be committed to spirit and to humanity. They won't let me stop. um, yeah, it's okay and right to have faith in Mother, Father, Spirit. Absolutely. The universe and our ancestors. I agree. I completely agree. And yes, that's what they do teach in Al Anon. You're absolutely right, Dragon Fairy Magic. And hello to Paul over on YouTube. But so I do want to do an intention today. We'll do a short intention, but I also want to leave you. Actually, let's do the intention with a short exercise. So, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do this short exercise to help you align with your higher self, your guides, and source consciousness. And when we're in that state, I'll go ahead and guide us through our intention. So take a moment and think about, we do an intention every week or every week that I'm here. And think about what it is you'd like to manifest in your life. What is this week's spell going to be for you? I already know what I like. From actually, a lot of times the spell could just be I am connected to source consciousness. I am aligned with my higher self. You can let that be your spell today. But if you are in need of something, if you need your car repaired or you need to find a new home, use that as well. But let's connect with our source consciousness as we do this week's intention. So let's go ahead and close our eyes, if you can, not if you're driving. And I'd like you just to take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your belly. Pause and exhale. Again, taking a deep breath in through your nose, filling your belly. Pause and exhale. And one more deep, 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 deep breath, filling your belly as far as it can go. Pause and exhale. And just allow yourself to feel relaxed. Feel your body relax. Feel your mind relax. And at this point, what I'd like you to do is imagine a tiny little speck of bright light, millions and millions of miles above your head, out in the outskirts of the universe, at the edges of the universe. And that tiny speck of light is the source of all things. And just see that golden light, that little teeny tiny speck of light shimmering, growing brighter. Allow it to become closer and closer, heading toward the earth, growing larger and larger, this golden ball of light. And sense the ball of light coming down just above your head. This is your connection to Source. And give this ball of light permission now to enter your crown. Feel it coming down into your head. Filling your head and your face with all this golden light. Feeling the peace. Feeling the center. Feeling understanding, clarity. And just allow this golden light to continue down into your body, down your neck, and your arms. Going down into your chest, down into your waist, down into your legs, into your knees, and down to your feet. And finally going down into the earth, connected to the earth, with you as a conduit and channel of the light streaming down the top of your head, connected to the earth, grounded in the earth. And now that we are connected, let us go ahead and perform our intention. And what I'd like you to do is think about what it is you'd like to bring into your world, bring into your life, and come up with a short phrase for it. Remember, start it with I am. I am connected to Source. I am driving in a safe car. I am living in my new house. I am in my new job. I am. And just keep repeating that phrase over and over as you allow the image of what that looks like to come into your mind's eye as we create the thought form of your intention. I am. I am. And see yourself in that scene, feeling relieved, feeling grateful, feeling gratitude for that which you have created in your life, having now received it. And let us fortify the thought form with a couple of ohms. You're welcome to ohm out loud or just in your mind. And with every Om, the thought form gets clearer and stronger. Deep breath in. Again. One more time. Repeat the phrase in your mind one last time. I am. And as I do will it, so mote it be. Release the thought form. Thank the universe. And thank you. I hope you found that helpful. And I look forward to hearing about how your intentions came true. I didn't mention it, but I write my intentions down. I didn't do it today. I'm going to do it when I get off the air. You might want to write it down. I don't know if you have an intention or spell book or book of shadows that you use, but you might want to write it down so you can look back and say, hey, look, it worked. But anyway, so I do have a few announcements. Believe it or not, I cannot believe it is the end of season 1 of The Grove already. It's been a year. I can't believe it. Or almost a year. But yes, this will be the last show of season 1. I am looking forward to season 2. I am probably going to be tinkering with the format a little bit. I like to change things up. So with that being said, I am going on my annual vacation. I'm very grateful to say I will be going home to Miami for a couple of weeks. Well, for a week, but I will be on vacation for about a week and a half, starting next Tuesday. So there will not be a show next week or the week after. This is my annual vacation, and it's also my opportunity to work on the next season. Maybe I'll do a new intro. Maybe I'll change our meditation or our spells or whatever it is. I don't know. I'll be writing all that stuff down. I do very good work when I'm on the beach, relaxed. So I will be vacationing in South Florida. Get to see some of my lifelong friends, people that I love dearly, catch up with them, maybe meet a couple of fans that I've met on Facebook that live down there. But I'm very much due. It's been a crazy year. Lots of good things have happened. Lots of crazy things have happened. But I'm looking forward to it. So I will not be doing a show next week or the week after. Our next show is going to be the autumn equinox. Yay! Fall is here. Halloween time. So keep an eye out. I will be posting information for the equinox. And the first show of season 2 of The Grove will be, let's see here. It'll be on August 4th. So 6th and the 13th, I'll be on vacation. I will be back on the 20th. And then I'll be taking another day off for the show because I'll be finalizing all the stuff for September. Is usually 1 or 2 shows, which unfortunately this year is only 1 show because there's only 4 Tuesdays. But I look forward to seeing all of you. I will be thinking of you during my vacation. You know I will. And of course, if you are on Facebook, on my Facebook page, when I'm on vacation, I like to pop in and talk to you all. So there will be some incognito, what am I saying? Spontaneous discussions and hellos, and maybe I'll show you the beach and show you where I'm staying and all that kind of stuff. So find me on facebook.com/Bernard Alex Alvarez. If you are not there, I try to post that stuff to YouTube. Unfortunately, it's just easier on my phone to just do a live thing on Facebook. So yes, I will still talk to a few of you on Facebook during my vacation and post some videos. It'll just be fun videos. And once in a while, I might be tipsy in them, so watch out. Now, I better watch out. Anyway, so thank you, everyone, so much for supporting this new format, The Grove. The Grove started because it's something I wanted to do. I wanted to change. I'd done the Just Bernard show for so many years. The Grove is for me and for you and for developing our consciousness, building our community together here on social media, on my website, and all of that. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting this first year of The Grove. Again, please, if you would like to become a Patreon supporter or a Facebook supporter or a YouTube supporter, there is a way you can do a monthly subscription and send a contribution automatically every month. As well, please feel free to just send a one-time donation, or now they're saying tip. So if you'd like to tip me, the information's in the description. But let's do some closing work. Actually, let me just check the chat one last time before we go. Oh, I just want to see Dragon Fairy Night. Very good. Very nice to see you. Thank you, everybody. It's really nice. Nice to see all of you. And that's it. So let's do our closing words. If you'd like to take a breath with me. As I breathe in this sacred day, my calm will grow. I call upon my inner guides to help me take it slow. My serenity and tranquility will overflow with harm to none, blessings to all. So mote it be. Blessed be. I love you, and I'll see you at the equinox. Have a wonderful, wonderful, week ahead. Bye now.